Care South is now providing COVID-19 drive-through community testing at their Baton Rouge clinic. Testing is available for anyone with or without symptoms and no doctor's order required. No insurance? Care South will cover the cost. Care South is a federally qualified health center providing comprehensive medical, dental, and behavioral health services, offering telehealth services and an in-house pharmacy. Satellite clinics in Donaldsonville, Plaquemine, and Zachary. At Care South, we're here for you. Care South. Family serving families. Care.
That's music right there, Mike. Let that ride for y'all this morning. Wake y'all up a little bit. Yeah. That's the Jaguar Journal. Saturday morning. Y'all wake up. Get it the day going. See, that music right there is what get me up. I start cleaning the house, doing all type of stuff, sweeping everywhere, wiping down stuff. Good morning. I'm Perry White, and welcome back. Hope you guys didn't party too hard yesterday for Cinco de Mayo. And joining me this morning on the call line is my man, B.J. Jones. Good morning, B.J.
Man, good morning, Perry. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Oh, man, early morning, man, trying to do some of those early morning chores, man.
Yeah, what you think about that right there? You know something about that song right there?
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely, man. You know, I do, I call Saturday Blues Saturday at my house. I don't do no rap, no hip-hop. It's all blues. And we're going to stretch it out from Bobby Blue Bland to Johnny Taylor to Lil Milton, all the way up to, Adrian Bagger and, Pokey Bear and all of them.
What you know about Carl Sims and Marvin C?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know a little something about that? You been to a blues fest or something in your day?
Well, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've been to a few blues fests, and, that's where I grew up, man. That's what I grew up around.
I love it, man, and me too, man. You know, I remember those car trips back in the day going all over the place, and we used to have those cassette tapes. And, you didn't have the option of XM radio and all those radio stations. You'll get radio probably whatever region you in for however long. But as you push through, you needed that cassette tape, front and back. And, man, that cassette tape will get you there. And I remember my mom, we have a little she had what I don't even know what to call it. It was like a little bag, man. You just dig in there, grab out one, pop it in, and that's what we listen to. And most of the time, it probably about 99.9% of the time, it was blues.
Yeah, man. Well, if it wasn't blues, man, it was some good old 70s music, Isley Brothers, Frankie Beverly and Mays, Cool in the Gang, Ohio Players or something like that.
Sound like you've been somewhere. Sound like you've been on the road trip or something. All right, let's jump back into it, BJ. As we went before the break, talked about Fantasia joining and coming by the school. But now let's jump into it, man. I have to talk about it because it's interesting right now. NBA basketball. You been keeping up with the NBA?
Yeah. This is the time I really keep up with it, man. I really started peeking in a little bit after the All-Star break. But once we get into March, man, I'm pretty much dialed in.
Interesting enough, last week, the Lakers and the Grizzlies, of course, Memphis Grizzlies, a lot of people were talking about this matchup, mostly because Dylan Brooks has some things to say to LeBron James, and it ultimately seems like it brought back the LeBron James of yesteryears. I know he's still been going hard, but LeBron had that look in his eye. You remember on, what was that? He said, man, you got that look in your eye. He said, fresh meat on the line. Yeah, it was fresh meat on the line for LeBron, and the Lakers were able to close out the series with the Grizzlies 4-2 by winning that last game, 125-85. How impressed have you been with LeBron James, and most importantly, now Anthony Davis stepping up with that ball club and the way that they've been able to finish out
against the Grizzlies?
Man, I've been impressed with LeBron. I'm gonna be honest with you all year. To be in year 20 and competing at the level that he's competing at, we haven't seen. Not at that level. So I've been impressed with him all year, and to get this ball club, Anthony Davis, man. The thing about it is, when Anthony Davis is on, it ain't too many in the league better than him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the problem with Anthony Davis, man, is when is he on? When is he not injured? I expected Anthony Davis. You remember Anthony Davis made that run to the playoffs when he was in New Orleans?
Yep.
And people were saying, "Hey, man, I think that this is going to be the guy." And that's how I felt. And it's like we never really got it. And we've seen glimpses, but we've never really gotten it. And hopefully, man, he can pull it together this playoff run, kind of like he did in the bubble, you know, to kind of give us that AD that we've been longing to see since he's been in New Orleans.
And you know, that's so sad when I look at New Orleans, the Pelicans, man. There's been so many great players that have come through, and it seems like once they leave, they go somewhere else. And you look at New Orleans like, man, how have you not been able to harness this into something special down there? When you look at the guys that are left, of course, I was a longtime fan of Chris Paul when he was there. AD was there. Now you're wondering what's going to happen with Zion and so many more that have been there. But we move on. We talk about now the Warriors and Sacramento. Haven't talked about the Sacramento Kings in years when you talk about playoff basketball, but Mike Brown winning the Coach of the Year, man, tremendous, phenomenal job in terms of what Mike Brown was able to do with that organization and turn the Kings around to make them a playoff contender. They fell in the playoffs to, of course, the Golden State Warriors. They were up 2-0 in Golden State. Golden State came out and closed it out, won it 4-3, 120-100. But still, hats off, you have to say, to the Kings with Mike Brown being able to lead them to the playoffs.
Yeah, man. They De'Aaron Fox in that group, Malik Monk, Sabonis. Man, they got a nice nucleus. The Sacramento Kings the other day. And they said it's been a while. It's been since the days of Peja Stojakovic. In that group, since we've talked about the Sacramento Kings.
Chris Webber.
They went, yeah, man, 17 years in between, you know, playoff appearances, man. That's a long time. But it was good to see them back in it, man, and see. I forgot how passionate, you know, Sacramento is. Even in the times that they were down, that arena has always been ranked one of the toughest places to play. And now, you know, now they got the new arena there. You know, it was a time they were talking about leaving Sacramento. You know, they had gotten bad, but nice to see Mike Brown, man, land on his feet out there and doing some good things. And they got some pieces, man. They got some pieces, and they can be good for years to come.
Another team who kind of knocked me off my seat a little bit, the New York Knicks. Now, when was the last time anybody brought up the New York Knicks when you're talking about playoff basketball? And, man, they closed out their first series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, winning 100-95 in that final game, closing that series 4-1, man. New York, first of all, the Knicks. When was the last time you talked about the Knicks in playoff basketball?
Well, yeah, I think it was another 2 years ago. They missed last year, but Tibbs' first year in New York, you know, they made it to the playoffs. Missed it last year, and now they're back. And they look like a New York Knicks basketball team
of yesteryear.
Rough, tumble, yeah, and I enjoy watching them play, man. I enjoy watching them play. I think that there may be a piece or two away from competing for a title, but they play a dirty, nasty style of basketball, and they force you to play the way that they play. If you think you just go run around the arc and just shoot threes and be cute, that ain't the way they're gonna do it. When you watch them, they had a game, I think it was 2 weeks ago, with their first round game, and I want to say like the end of the first half, the score was like 44-38.
Mm-hmm.
Like they force you to play that style of game.
Another team I'm looking at that I like, Eric Spoelstra and Miami Heat. This team never seems to go away. They always go down with a fight, but they kept it going and interested in the first round, closing out the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1 in that series, winning in overtime 128-126. Jimmy Buckets, man. I think it's time to put some real respect on his name.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I said that after the bubble, But this is the thing with Jimmy though. Playoff Jimmy and regular season Jimmy aren't the same people.
They're not at all.
Because he has the propensity to kind of disappear in the regular season. But you get that man in the playoffs, man, and he's a top 10 player, top 5 player, man.
He definitely is, man. I like what Jimmy. Hey, let me tell you one thing. Don't bet on him. All right, that's where I learned. It's certain players when it comes down to sports betting that I stay away because of the inconsistency. He's one of them. Man, I betted on that dude one time in All-Star Weekend. I'm like, Jimmy, I know you got at least 14 in you. Jimmy went out there, I think, and barely gave me 4 points. I won't mess with him no more. And there's a few others I kind of stay clear away when it comes to the sports betting. But right now, man, you look at a series like the Celtics and the 76ers. You look at a series with the Nuggets. And, man, what you think about the Nuggets this year, and especially that matchup with the Suns? A lot of people like KD and the Nuggets, but it seems they're struggling a little bit with the Suns.
Man, let me tell you something. I've said this for a couple of years. A lot of people said that KD was the best player on the planet, and I get what you would think when you say that. It's always been my problem with KD. He's a dog amongst dogs. When he has to be the lead dog, he's a puppy. And this, if they go out, it's a 4-1, 4-2 type situation. I don't want to ever hear him put in the same conversation with LeBron, man, or Jordan, or Kobe, or any of those other people.
I don't hear.
Now, I said that already.
I'm with you. I agree with you on that.
When he left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State, already loaded team, like for me, it was just like, okay. All right, this is, and a lot of people want, oh man, KD did this, KD did. Yes, he was a dog amongst other barking dogs. And you know what I'm saying? I saw what he did in Brooklyn, or didn't do in Brooklyn. And Phoenix, you got a whole other team where you got some barking dogs, and they none of them barking.
None of them barking. Last night,
Celtics. That's an old one.
Celtics
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. Well, of course, Chris Paul, he's the assist king, but I'm interested to see will the Suns be able to get it done. The Suns get a victory last night, 121-114 over the Nuggets. That series now, Denver up 2-1. Celtics on the other side get the victory over the 76ers, 114-102. Boston now leads 2-1. Interesting. I like James Harden the way he played in game one, but since Joel Embiid has been back, they seem to have not been able to get it together. I think James likes it mostly when it all funnels through him, but now with Joel back in the ball game, it seems he's a little bit uncomfortable. Their offense isn't quite what it was once he was out. Today, the New York Knicks take on the Heat today, 2:30 ABC. That series is tied 1-1. And the Warriors and the Lakers, a series that I'm really interested in, is tied 1-1. Let's get ready to take a break. We come back, we'll talk more sports, all right? My man B.J. Jones joining the show. Let's stay tuned. We'll be right back. More to Jaguar Journal.
Care South is now providing COVID-19 drive-through community testing at their Baton Rouge clinic. Testing is available for anyone with or without symptoms and no doctor's order required. No insurance? Care South will cover the cost. Care South is a federally qualified health center providing comprehensive medical, dental, and behavioral health services, offering telehealth services and an in-house pharmacy. Satellite clinics in Donaldsonville, Plaquemine, and Zachary. At Care South, we're here for you. Care South. Family serving family.
7:36 a.m. It is the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White. Getting y'all day started up right. Y'all wake up, man. Get the day started. I know we early in the morning. Shout out to everybody on the Jaguar Journal YouTube channel checking in. Good morning to all of you guys in the chat. BJ, they said something. What they say on that mic? We got let me tell you something out of BJ this morning. What does that mean, BJ?
That's what old people saying, man. Well, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something, boy. Come on over here. Let me tell you something. Let me learn you something. That sounds like something Flood would say. Let me learn you something, young man. You know, BJ.
That's it. That's it.
That's it. We jump into it. My man BJ Jones joining me this morning. Thank you for joining in with me, man. I'm Perry White. Y'all wake up. Cinco de Mayo was yesterday, man. Listen, the whole city was out yesterday, BJ. You got out a little bit?
No.
Okay,
I didn't. Man, I went to work and came home, man. That was it. That was it. You know what, man? I started looking at Cinco de Mayo different when I realized that our hombres from Mexico don't celebrate it. And from that point on, I've been like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll find any way to kick it, man. Let's jump into it. Baseball, Southern University baseball. It's been a while, y'all, since I brought them up, and y'all know how I feel about it. But I go all the way back to April 19th. Let me catch you guys up. It's been a while, hadn't it? A few weeks. April 19th on a Wednesday, Southern University baseball took on Dillard University down from down that city, that 504, and they was able to get a victory, non-conference victory, 11-8 over Dillard. You know, and I'll wait before I go to my sentiments about everything. April the 21st, they had a weekend series against Grambling, winning that first game in 11 innings, 6-5, and falling short in the next two games in a Saturday and Sunday game, 2-3 in that Saturday game and 6-13 to Grambling in that Sunday game. Then went on the road taking on the University of Louisiana. Of course, the Raging Cajuns fell short, 5-10 to UL. Then went to Pine Bluff, up my way to Arkansas. All right, the Golden Lions lost that first game on Friday. Southern got the victory 10-1. And then the Golden Lions pulled away and closed out the series of a doubleheader on Sunday, winning 14-5 for UAPB and 8-5 in game two. Southern lost that series. And then just yesterday, May 5th, Southern hosting Prairie View here in Baton Rouge. Southern getting the victory 3-2 in baseball, as they'll have a game today. If the rain holds up. They'll be in a doubleheader today, 3 o'clock against Prairie View today over at Lee Hines Field, and 6 o'clock today at Lee Hines Field. But the way it's looking out there, I'm not sure what it's going to be when you look at that. Tuesday, the Jaguars will host New Orleans, UNO, at Lee Hines Field at 6 p.m. Before they head to Alcorn for a series and then close it out towards the end of the month against, of course, UAPB. The Golden Lions of UAPB. But one thing I still say about this program, they have yet, this is year two, BJ, they have yet to win an out-of-conference game against a Division I opponent, and it's going on 2 years now when you look at this program. Overall in SWAC standings, let's start over in the SWAC East. Let me update you guys and let you know what's going on. Alabama State is at the top of the SWAC East with a 19-3 SWAC record, 31-15 overall. Right behind Alabama State, the Rattlers of Florida A&M, 16-6 in conference play, 22-21 overall. Behind them, their sister school, Bethune-Cookman, 13-7 in SWAC play, 22-22. They're at 500 on the season. Jackson State down this year. When you look at them, 9-13 in conference play, but 24-19 overall. They play a lot of cupcakes, boy, to get that 24-19. Mississippi Valley, 6-18 in conference play, 13-32 overall in Alabama A&M, 3-17 in conference play, 13-26 overall. That is the SWAC East with Alabama State leading the way. They have a consistent program year in and out. And I'm looking at Jackson State, man. They're following kind of the middle of the pack over in the East. You look over to the SWAC West. The Tigers of Grambling State up there in North Louisiana, 16-5 in conference play. They're at 500 on the season at 22-22. Right behind them, the Tigers of Texas Southern, 13-6 in conference play, 27-17 overall. Prairie View, 13-7 in conference play. Of course, Southern's opponent this weekend. And if you hear what I'm hearing outside, I don't know what that day is going to look like in that series matchup. But then you look over 17-29
overall for Prairie View. Right behind them is the Jaguars of Southern, who got the victory over Prairie View last night in Game 1 of that weekend series. Southern now 10-9 conference play, 16-24. Excuse me, 17-23 overall. Pine Bluff right there behind them, 5-16 in conference play, 13-28 overall. And Alcorn State, man, I would have to put Alcorn probably one of the worst programs, baseball programs in the nation, man. 3-19 in conference play, 6-35 overall on their season. But you look, Grambling leads the West right now. Alabama State leads the East. BJ, you been keeping up with some SWAC baseball, or this your first time hearing about it?
No, man, in passing, man, looking at it, man, really trying to check on how we've been doing, man, and I think the I know it had been a while since we had won a non-conference Division I game, but 2 years, man, that's unacceptable in my mind.
It was last year against a 3-game series on the road in San Antonio against the University of Texas San Antonio. I won't forget it because I keep looking back and it's like, man, I got to find us a victory somewhere down the line. But that was the last time this ball club has beat a program of Division I stature, and since then they have not. And when you talk about building the program, BJ, for you, a lot of people don't want to they say, well, why? What does it mean? What does it matter? I'm big on non-conference because for me, non-conference is more about your brand. Your brand is secured within the conference of the teams that you play year in and year out and that you go and play for a conference championship against. But when you're talking about your brand and you want to expand and grow your brand, you want to build a powerful brand, you got to go out and become a formidable opponent where when people come, and I use the same thing in football, when we go somewhere and there's a non-conference, ask me about the football team and not the band. What's about that, BJ?
I'm with you. I mean, the same thing, man. Non-conference, I would tell people, winning conference games helps you. Winning non-conference games helps everyone. Helps the entire conference. So when people see that conference logo, they know they're getting a quality team that's going to be coming in. When you don't win non-conference games, and let's say you got a conference full of people that don't win non-conference games, and you're the best of that, what are you the best of? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that winning those non-conference games, that helps your conference strength. It helps you as far as the postseason. I mean, it helps you in so many different ways, man. Conference RPI, you name it. And, the frustrating part is that too many people don't see the importance of that. We have too much of that, hey, as long as we win the SWAC mentality. But okay, if you win the SWAC and no one else wins on the outside, what did you actually do? My granddad used to say, it's like being the tallest midget.
A
you know
what?
I mean? The tallest midget.
Your granddad sound like a funny guy. Tell me about the tallest midget.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, man, you still, vertically, deficient at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So, hopefully we can see that change, Perry. I always try to stay optimistic until I can't be.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of injuries with this baseball team. I am aware of that. And we'll see how this thing looks because, hey, it didn't look good last year, and a good tournament, the last 2 years has made our old brother Crenshaw look a lot better than what he did during the season.
I hate to use the injury thing, but the injury typically come when we do the non-conference because it ain't stopping them from getting victories in conference from here and there. But it's when they go do those midweek games that typically seems to be tough on them. Shout out to my man he loves SWAC baseball on our YouTube. Jeremiah Clark, man, he is in there engaging. He said the SWAC has no brand. They think they do, but they're mistaken. JSU has lost almost every school in the state of Louisiana in non-conference, and that matters. When you start to talk about conference games, non-conference games, I'm big on the conference games, of course. I want to win my conference championship. These are the teams we've been playing for 100 years. Of course, we know them all too well. But when you talk about recruiting and your brand, especially when you're taking on, it's like if you're Southern and you're playing Louisiana schools and you have not beaten anybody in Louisiana except Grambling and barely did that, you have to do something. You have to be there when you're taking on the Nichols, the UNOs, the ULs, and whoever else, the LSUs and all those teams.
you got to go out there, and when you talk about securing your region, that matters because these young people talk. They know they're a little bit more abreast into what's going on with these institutions and these programs, way more than what was going on 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when you only heard names of school because of family members and friends. Now, with the age of social media, they see it all. There's no hiding it from. There's no trying to paint or create this picture. They know exactly what they're getting before they try to choose what they want. And so we got to be able to do a little bit better job. And that's every time I bring up baseball, that's where I'm going to go with it. Everybody knows exactly how I feel about that. But enough of that, all right? Let's get ready to take a break. We'll come back and keep the conversation going. My man BJ Jones joining me this morning, and you guys as well. And I thank you for waking up. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be back more at the Jaguar Journal.
Most private insurance. A sliding fee discount for patients that qualify. No one is turned away. Call today, 650-2000, or visit us at caresouth.org. Care South Medical and Dental is a proud sponsor of Southern University.
They get up and clean your house music this morning. Spring cleaning. I'm Perry White. Thank y'all for joining my man BJ Jones, joining me on the line. Good morning, BJ. You feeling that Saturday music? I had a good mama growing up, made me wake up and clean up. I know something about getting up. BJ, my man Jeremiah Clark on the Jaguar Journal YouTube channel, and everybody that's out there, if you want to join in on the YouTube channel, you just want to look at me or you want to join in on the chat, you can just type in the Jaguar Journal on YouTube and go and subscribe and comment. If you want to, a lot of people don't like to call in, so they like to try to comment through there. But he said when Cornell Maynard said, I get paid to win SWAC games, he spoke a truth to the overall SWAC mindset as it pertains to sports. What's your thoughts on that? When you look at the landscape of when coaches say, I get paid to win SWAC games.
Really, I don't know you said it. But that's my mentality. My mentality is I want us to be the best. But when you say I'm paid to win, no other coach in no other league would have said that, and that would have been acceptable. And I'm gonna be honest with you. You've heard it before, Perry. When we've been at games, we'll get an example. 2019, we lost to McNeese, and that was a close ball game. Mm-hmm. And you heard people saying, but it wasn't a SWAC game. What do you mean? Anytime we line it up and play, we were supposed to win it. That's a recruiting battle that we're gonna have to have. You know what I mean? And this is my thing, not only for Southern, but for everybody. At some point, you got to update the resume.
Yeah, please.
How to sit back talk about what the SWAC was in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. We had Jerry Rice and we had Walter Payton and back then. But it's 2023. Jerry Rice played in the conference before I was born. All right? Like, at some point, you got to update the resume.
And I feel it because you've also heard the commissioner state out of his own mouth in the past of this conference talking about the possible move up to FBS. Now, although he says the move up to FBS does not mean they're probably going to participate playing other FBS schools, maybe Group of Five, in which we do it anyway. But there has been a long time since we saw a SWAC school even beat an FBS school. And it's been a... Go ahead.
1985.
Grambling State, was it over Oregon State?
Oregon State. You want me to tell you how many MEAC has had the last decade?
Talk to me.
7.
And I know Bethune-Cookman probably stands there along with A&T, Howard, or some of those schools that have done it. Bethune-Cookman for a while, when they took on like Florida International and teams like that, they were getting the best of them. We saw the dynasty when it was rolling with North Carolina A&T getting victories over Eastern Carolina and other schools like that, taking on Kent State playing tough. And then Howard peeling off one of the biggest upsets, I think, and they said in spread history when they went on the road to upset UNLV out in Vegas.
You also missing one, South Carolina State over Georgia State.
I'm missing South Carolina State over Georgia State. And when you look at that, man, that is tough because although the MEAC is condensed down to 6 schools, we continue to see, I say 6 schools in football. They still have more schools than that in other sports. But when you look at the sporting arena of what they've been able to do compared to the SWAC, which is more exciting, draws more interest of the fans, and it overall just sells better. But the brand of the MEAC, even when you look at the MEAC SWAC Challenge, when you look at the Celebration Bowl, it has come to a position where they have shown continuously that their brand, when it comes to actual football winning games, seems to be better on the field.
Man, Harry, I had this discussion with someone yesterday. My good brother that I host the X's and O's podcast with, Joshua Sims, he's a MEAC guy. He's a real CIAA guy, CIAA/MEAC. Played at North Carolina Central when they were making the transition up to the MEAC. He brought up some points to me. And I always tell people, man, facts override your feelings. Perry, do you know when the last time a SWAC school beat a ranked non-conference FCS team?
I would have to say, I'm not sure last year was Campbell ranked when they played Jackson State. But
no.
Okay.
Was nowhere near it.
All right. I can't remember. I don't know. You give me one.
2009, Alabama State over Jacksonville State.
Okay.
The MEAC has had one every year. Last year, North Carolina Central beat New Hampshire, who was ranked and was a playoff team.
They did.
The year before that, They had some, like they've literally had, I want to say like 4 in the last 5 years. We haven't had one since 2009. In that stretch, you got South Carolina State over Furman, South Carolina State over Wofford, North Carolina A&C over Elon. Like you have those games, and it's like even Bethune-Cookman got Southeastern a few years ago. It's when people say, and his argument is that in the SWAC you guys care about everything but what happens on the field. You brag about attendance, you brag about tailgating, you brag about how many people showing up, the bands, and oh my God, it's live. And there's no question in the fact the SWAC has those fan bases. When we talk about actual play on the field, the MEAC is the better conference, and there's no one who can dispute it based on wins and losses and what that league has done. Even the shrunken down MEAC, you cannot dispute it.
No, you can't, and I think that's what gave A&T so much leverage in terms of when they was building their program compared to when you look at Jackson State. Jackson State, within that 2 years of their success, did not do well outside of beating Campbell. But, they did not do well when they did step out and take on the MEAC, losing 2 consecutive years to South Carolina State and to North Carolina Central and the Celebration Bowl. But when you look at the other side, when A&T was rolling, they beat whoever's the best out the SWAC, as well as they went out and beat FBS. And also, I would never forget the FCS kickoff to the season when they took on Jacksonville State, who at that time I think held a 30-something game regular season win streak, and A&T went in there and stopped that. And since then, Jacksonville State has kind of been shaky, but now they're making the leap to FBS. But those games matter when you talk about your brand. Those games matter when you talk about recruiting. Overall, those games matter, period, no matter how you put it. We're at the top of the hour. We'll get ready to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about NFL draft. We'll talk about some recruiting and some transfer portal move arounds, all type of stuff. So y'all stick around. We'll be back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Refunds app or go to getrefunds.com, getrefunds.com.
Oh, yeah. 8:05 a.m. Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White, getting it rocking and rolling this morning for the second hour. My man BJ Jones joining me this morning. Good morning, BJ. No, that's look. My bad. I knew you was having a good time. Hopefully, everybody out there listening having a good time, man, and waking up this morning, getting the day going. BJ, as we get ready to get this second hour going, the APR Academic Progress Report was put out this week in terms of the 2021-2022 academic year. And I'll go down the list. Let's start it. And this is on the football side of things. And as we know at Southern, this matters because we saw what APR happened in the past when it came to the program and what it did for the program. But when you start at the top with Bethune-Cookman, they had an 892. And now let me tell you, 930 is the benchmark, is where you want to be, 930 and higher. So Bethune-Cookman at 892. You look at the Rattlers of Florida A&M, 898. Mississippi Valley, 899. Alabama A&M, 911, 911. You got Alabama State, 913. UAPB, 923. Prairie View at 932. Texas Southern, 935. Jackson State at 943, along with Southern at 943. Alcorn State at 945 and Grambling at 948. When you look at APR, typically APR is what we fall into some issues, and we've seen it in the past in terms of how we go about doing things in the conference. When you look at the academic progress, and it goes into the graduation rates and everything else. But for you to start these progress, when you look at the reports, are slowly going up for some of these schools, BJ.
Yeah, you got people, man, that's finally taking it serious. We saw at FAMU, man, they had somebody working compliance that had no idea how compliance worked last year. And back in the day, we would just have, hey, man, just put somebody over there on compliance instead of just getting a compliance person. And I think we've getting out of that mentality, and it works. You know what I mean? You wouldn't go to a heart doctor, if there was something wrong with your head. You know what I mean? So I think that we're better about the business that we do, and that's great news.
When you look at men's basketball, Texas Southern with 969 with the score. They topped all black college hoops program. In the MEAC, South Carolina State received 960 to lead the conference. And then, of course, Hampton and North Carolina A&T, who are both no longer in HBCU conferences, but still HBCUs, both received scores of 931 and 925. And as I said, 930 seems to be, that's the standard. That's where you want to be nationally. When you look at football and men's basketball, the numbers dropped by 2 nationally, falling from 962. But women's basketball saw a 1-point drop as well, and baseball scores remain unchanged nationally. You're looking at about 977. But overall, man, APR matters. Having the right people in your compliance offices matter. We saw this issue. You brought up FAMU last year. We had this issue at Southern. I can recall back in that 2014 season, as we got the season started, they were literally, that was against UL. Moments before, as they were getting people off the bus, hey, you can't do it. And then we saw it the next week when, was it the next week or a couple weeks out, Southern went on the road to Alcorn. Alcorn, I think, won by 50 points that day. It was a huge victory on the road for Alcorn. But a lot of people think, yes, contribute to the game, but there were a lot of players who were pulled from the bus that were told they were ineligible leading up into that. And I think we all remember in the paper, and they're all over, when they slapped it with that big APR issue for Southern. APR matters, and I think Southern knows it more than any other school, and the success that Southern has still had to find themselves out of it. I know we are hard on Southern. We critique and criticize Southern so much, but considering the dark ages that athletic program came out of, to be
to even see the light these days says a lot.
We've come a long way. We've come a long way, and you want to continue to see that. Make sure that we are making, the right moves and doing the right thing as far as making sure that we have that APR. Look, if you ain't got the APR, you'll be on sanctions, and what happens on the field ain't gonna matter anyway. So, that's the big thing.
It is, because we saw with football a lack of scholarships. You saw no spring football. It became a thing around here not having spring football. Once that Bayou Classic or whatever was over, you didn't see anybody till fall camp. That mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was a big thing with Dawson Odom here that I think a lot of people didn't understand when it came to that, dealing with those APR. He built a successful program off with walk-ons. He had the walk-on program, preferred walk-on. He couldn't go out. He couldn't get the transfer players. And I think when you looked around, that was tough for building a program when, everybody else was able to pluck a guy here. And I think especially now in these day and age, when if you was to say you can't go get a transfer player, that would just completely send everybody up in arms. But during that time, couldn't get the transfer players, couldn't go out and offer all the scholarships that he wanted, could not work to help develop in the offseason because of the limited practice time and no spring football. And as well as then you add in the walk-on, man, that was, a hell of a job for him in keeping that program afloat, because what you saw happen to Southern with dealing with APR, most programs will probably be underneath the ground for years talking about trying to pull themselves out.
Yeah, and we see man, when APR and sanctions hit Alabama State and hit Jackson State, Texas Southern, and a few others, man, we've seen it. So I think that I've always said this about Dawson Odom. People were not going to appreciate him why he was, during his reign. It was going to be a couple of years afterwards before people were going to, fully, appreciate him. And that's the way that we do coaches, unfortunately. We don't appreciate a guy until he's out of the door or he's left. That's when when you look at it, he really wasn't that bad, blase. So that's with any coach. I think we're doing the same thing with baseball right now.
Yeah, man, let me tell you, Kerrick Jackson, who we had at Southern, I thought he was a diamond in the rough, and he was really starting to shine for the program, for the conference. He took non-conference victory serious. I know my man Jeremiah Clark likes this. I'm back on baseball. But he took it serious, and he said something that was so profound to me that I normally don't hear from coaches in this league when they get into the introduction speech. I'm not just trying to win conference games. I'm trying to take this team to Omaha. And something about that just settled, it resonated, and I'm like, that's inspiring to me, because I'm so used to just saying, hey, I'm here to win conference championships. I'm here to win the SWAC. I want to win that thing too. But when I win the SWAC in women's basketball and I go play in that first four in against another 16 team who've been struggling all year, probably lucked up and got into their conference tournament and won their conference championship, let me go out there and at least look like I'm a ball club. When I win baseball and I go play in that region or wherever I'm going, let me go in that mug and not get blew out. Let me go in there and look like a ball club. And I know a lot of things factor in, especially when you talk about budgets or whatever. But listen, just a game is a game. What they say, they put their pants on just like we do, one leg at a time. And so, that matters to me, BJ, when you go out. And all of that, when you look at it, culminates together, man. It all matters. But you're right when you talk about Dawson. I don't think still a lot of people don't truly respect or appreciate what Coach Dawson Odom did at Southern. I am one that did, and I understood being around in that program, because I think for a lot of people, they wanted to be a part of the program. They wanted to be on the inside know of the program. You seen Eric Dooley. He's a lot more open when it comes to the football program in terms of letting people in and being a part. I think Dawson Odom was a little bit more standoffish when it came to letting people in. So a lot of people didn't quite understand what was really going on and transpire within the program. When you look at Coach Crenshaw right now in baseball, baseball needs some help, just flat out. Basketball when you see with the addition of the new coach, basketball is going to need some help. And this is why when it comes down to it, we can sit here and talk about it on the radio all day, but it comes down to the people that's listening. The people that's listening, because you're the supporters. You're the fans.
We the ones that scream, we want to win this, we want that. Why they not doing this? Why they not doing that? Because what are we doing on our end in order to make sure success is created at Southern University? That's what matters most of all, and most importantly, doing your part in terms of being not only just a fan. Season tickets only go so far, right? Season tickets only go far. Who we got? All right, Chris, let's go to the phone lines. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Perry. Good morning, BJ. How you doing, man?
Man, good morning. Good morning.
No, we
All
did
right.
something to stir you to get you called in. What's going on?
Well, I mean, I first heard BJ talking about Cinco de Mayo, and I took the same take he took. When I found out that the real Mexican wasn't celebrating it, that did it for me. But anyway, we talk about Dawson Odoms.
Mm-hmm.
And, the appreciation for him and what Coach Odom had. The great thing about it worked out great for us because we didn't fire him. We didn't terminate his contract or anything like that. But it was the APR issues, I believe, that kept Coach Odom around. That's the thing that kept him around was the simple fact that we knew his hands were tied. Like you said, Perry, it was a thing that we didn't have spring practice. And you talk to former players and coaches about if you don't have spring, man, you just really starting behind the eight ball because when you go into fall camp, you're supposed to be looking for depth. You pretty much know who your starters are unless somebody really rises to the top. So you're really trying to build your team in the fall. You find your players that spring and get to work in an institute and whatever you're going to be doing. But that was the thing that gave Coach Odom the opportunity to continue to be there because we knew he had been unjustly done and what he was fighting up against. And we also saw what happened with Jackson State with Coach Commages.
Mm-hmm.
You look at that record, you look at Commages' record at Jackson State and Coach Odom at Southern, and they kind of paralleled each other with one each winning a SWAC title. And then we also, in the back of our minds, had that fear where we get rid of Coach Odom, we might end up like Jackson State and be chasing our tail for a while. And we wasn't ready for that. But at the end of the day, even though, Coach Odom decided to move on and, it seemed like he wasn't really appreciated, the bottom line is we want championships.
That's it.
And nobody is more loved or happy for than Coach Dooley. But if Coach Dooley don't win championships, it's going to be the same lack of appreciation. Great guy you want your kid to play for, but at the end of the day, we want wins on the bluff. We want championships on the bluff.
What about the other programs outside of football for you?
It's just horrendous. It's just horrendous. And just like with the baseball program, we put ourselves in positions to where we have to make knee-jerk reactions, what I say, okay? Now,
you got to break that down for us, Chris. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we weren't looking for Coach Jackson to leave. You knew maybe he was going to eventually get something, but when he did leave, when he left, I don't remember no real search going on. Do you?
Mm-hmm. No.
For a baseball coach?
No, not at all. It was next man up, basically, on the staff.
Okay. So that's what I refer to as a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, well, we got to get a head coach, and then he go out and do well and win the tournament and everything like that. Okay, and so we great. He was able to do that. He basically took over being a ram in the bush at that particular time. But we still should have tried to fill some other opportunities with other people. And we didn't. And so, now we got what we got.
And that's the other part that in terms of the fans. I know we criticize so much, but it matters in terms of what we bring to the table, too, because there are a lot of times where we miss out on people because we're not able to afford them. We want the big names. We want this and we want that. But a lot of people turn back because they like, man, I'm not going to do all that for nothing, or at least for what I believe I'm worth.
Well, let me put it to you like this. The basketball coach hire, that seems to be changing from what I'm gathering. I'm thinking the salary is pretty decent. Also, the number of coaches that he's able to hire is supposed to be pretty decent. It looked like a lot more thought went in this basketball process than we have on some of our other hires, maybe with the exception of football. That's just what I'm hearing. I can't really confirm a lot of it, but that's just what I'm hearing. So I feel pretty good about that with a guy coming in that's got ties in Louisiana, been here the whole while, know all the high school coaches in the state. And, we got some of the best talent in basketball in the country and have had for years. So I'm just saying, one of the things that I was talking about was which Coach Otis is. Like I said, I'm glad it went like it did. I'm glad we didn't let him go, terminate him, where we would have this bad mark on us. It worked out for both parties. Coach Odom saw an opportunity to go back on the East Coast, and we wish him nothing but the best. And it's not real hard to lose a coach like that because why? We only won one championship. And the Jaguar Nation won more than one championship here.
So how long you giving Dooley? Because it seems like it's the same
You need
story.
to ask me that, Perry. Okay. I understand it's a 3-year contract with a 4th-year option, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what I understand it to be. We in year 2. I think we got money paid up to pay out that 1 year, just depending upon how this year go. That's where I'm at with it.
Oh, man, you told it late.
BJ, when you see that debacle that happened last year, okay, let's just forget wins, losses. That just the whole mindset, BJ, the whole mindset of it was ridiculous. I mean, I got no other way to say it. I mean, I love Coach Dooley to death. My son played for him. Great guy. But what we saw last year was total insanity. And as a Jaguar fan, alumnus, we had a championship team. That's the hurting part. That's what's really getting at me. You down 26-0 in Jackson. And you come back and literally put the field guard in them people's hand when it was 34-26. And everybody that saw us and Jackson say the difference between us and Jackson with all their recruits, with all of that, was the quarterback position. Shadua was the real deal. If they don't have Shadua, and I'm sitting here, it haunts me to this day. What kind of team we could have had if we'd have been playing Bubba? I guess the biggest part that really, really bothers me, for a coach to come in and say, I got a 5th-year senior that done been through the wars, that done played in SWAC games. He's going to be the captain. He's going to be the standard for where we want to go this year. And you don't even utilize. You bring in 2 boys. You bring in a boy that's never taken a D1 division snap at quarterback.
And let me ask you this, Chris, and this is for you, BJ, because now we look at the quarterback room. We just saw the story this week of former Central Arkansas, UCA, and UL quarterback Clifton McDowell. He commits to Southern. That quarterback room at Southern, of course, when you look at what they signed coming out of high school, already what you have with Noah Baldwin, and as well as Harold Blood, and the transfers that's in, the high school guys, this quarterback room is deep, but it goes back to what you're saying, Chris, when you looked at his evaluation of the quarterback position last year. But when you have a quarterback room this deep this year, it's going to make his evaluation that much more harder in terms of who's going to stick with, because there's a lot of quarterbacks in that room, and he's shown once he picks his guy, that's his guy. What's your thoughts on that quarterback room for Southern this year? And I'll start with you, Chris, and then go to BJ.
Okay, the scary part about this whole thing is friends of mine from Prairie View told me that was going to happen. He said he's going to have about 8 or 9 quarterbacks. I can tell you that now. Okay? But the one caveat to the whole thing that's giving me a glimmer of hope is Willie Totten. He can't help but respect Willie Totten's opinion. The younger guys, Jonathan Williams and those guys, younger guys and everything, the word I got was it was one voice in the room. And I'm just believing part of him bringing in a seasoned veteran like Willie Totten is somebody to help him make the right decision. And it's going to be hard for me to believe that if Willie Totten say, Coach, this is the guy we need to go with, and you say, no, I'm going to go with another guy. That's my only hope.
BJ,
that's the way I see it.
What do you think, BJ?
Hey, one thing about it is, man, I can tell you those two freshmen that we're bringing in can go. And I've always been of the believer, man, if you got a young kid and a young kid and a veteran even, you go with the young kid. We got a lot of them now. And I just thought we just offered another one. And I went in and looked at his film, the one that we offered. And he can go. Now, the kid from UCA, I get Bashawn McCray vibes, just taller. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, one thing about it is there are going to be a lot of kids in that room. I do like the fact that that's really Totten over those quarterbacks, not Jonathan Williams. I believe this, Pierre. You've always heard me say this. I understand that, Coach Dooley was a young coach. He was a young coach when I was there, all right? But I also don't believe this. You don't win with a staff full of children.
Exactly.
I've yet to see that happen.
Sound like Chris, you got something to say about that?
On that staff. You got to have some maturity on that staff. You got to have some guys that have been through those wars before. So I think that we've definitely upgraded at the quarterback coach position. I like Willie Totten. I think that his voice is going to be a strong voice. And, I think what fans don't want to see, fans, alumni, former players, everything, is you don't want to see a repeat of last year when you had a championship team. Period. We put Bubba in the game the second drive, we win it.
Right. That's right.
Listen,
that's right.
I walked into the stands and I was up in the second half. I had a lady, Jackson, say, she stopped me. She said, who is this quarterback playing? I said, that's Bubba. She said, how long he been on the team? I said, all you. She said, why y'all not been playing him? I said, I don't know. She stopped me and asked me that.
Well, the hardest thing for me is from the simple fact when you saw this boy struggle in the Bayou Classic.
Ooh.
And the headlines read, defense bails them out. And then you going to go back to Jackson and wanting to know why the crowd ain't where it's at. I mean, many times we had to go down to the reservation to play for the SWAC title. We still showed up because at least we knew we had competent people. I ride and die with Ladarius Skelton. Personally, me, I think the boy was put in bad situations. That's just my personal opinion. And for him not to win a SWAC title when he won everywhere he went, I just think it's atrocious. So, but that's just my personal opinion. Because, his first year, and, Flood say, well, the defense started catching up with it. Man, this guy, I still ride and die with Ladarius Skelton, even though with his limit, because basically he was the same way as Kincaid was. I just think he just was put in bad situations at certain times. So, but anyway, like you said, BJ, the two young guys, I was watching them this week. I don't know what kind of competition that the Jalen Woods kids played against in Georgia. But, man.
Oh, it was top-notch.
He can play.
It was top-notch.
He can flat-out play. Now, I watched T-Set. I watched T-Set, too. And he can play. But the tape on this Jalen Woods kid, he can flat-out play.
And what I've seen, a lot of people are pushing towards the kid from Scotlandville. They believe that he'll possibly be the one to shake the room up.
Well,
that kid can ball too, Pierre.
Yeah, and
I was shocked that we got him.
Well, I talked to one of the coaches, and he had Southern, ACT, and GPA. That's the word I got. That's the reason why he got him. And then, like I said, he looks at the big picture, though. He looks at the fact of being here, the opportunities that's for him after football. So that's the reason why we really got him. That's what one of the coaches told me. So we're just glad to have him. And I'm curious to see how it's going to play out because you got to look at Noah Bolton, you got to figure out what's going through his mind and everything like that, what he's thinking at this particular point in time. And then now we bring in the guy from Central Arkansas. Now, you said he like Bashawn McCray, but I think this guy's like, what, 6'4"?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6'4", 6'4". Yeah.
Yeah, big dude. And then, I seen, so we'll see. But, man, that's a lot of quarterbacks.
It's a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of talent in that room, and it's going to be interesting in terms of the evaluation process. And like you said, both you guys said, hey, you said it was better Jonathan Williams not in that room, and like you said, Chris, at least it's Coach Titan that's in there to be able to evaluate. But is Coach Titan proven as a quarterback coach? That's going to be the question in terms of who he's dealt with in the past. Is he a proven quarterback? I think when you look at this proven quarterback coach, I think when you look at this room, somebody's going to have to leave out of here a winner. And with the talent that they have, if it's lackluster as the season goes on, then you got to draw a circle, and all the arrows and the target is going to be pointed at Coach Titan, because it's no way you leave that room with as much talent that you bring in, both new and old, and still may not have success. You're looking for total success out of that room. Southern has the pieces when you look at on the offense side of the ball, the running back, the receivers. I question the O-line in terms of the depth and what they're going to look like, but you got to find some talent out of that room to be successful and not go down that route we went through last year. And if a guy is not playing well, do you then give that talent in that room an opportunity to step up and let somebody else come in? Or do you run that same script from last year to where you're going to roll with your one guy no matter if he's struggling or not?
No, I think the rolling with one guy days are numbered. From what all my indications are, Coach Dooley understands that this was totally unacceptable, right, wrong, and nobody's looking. I wanted an apology, but I don't guess I'm gonna get it.
No.
But the thing of it is just like I said, we just won't stand for it. We just won't stand for it. That's one thing about the Jaguar Nation. Our days of suffering over with bad coaches are over. We just won't stand for it. We spend too much money. We're too loyal. We're too dedicated, and we deserve better. I mean, our fan base is second to none, and whether people think we're the best or not, it really doesn't matter. We think we're the best, and we'll support our football team, especially a winning football team. Can you imagine in 2023 if we could have a team like the '94 team that didn't win the SWAC title, didn't win nothing, but that was Pete Richardson's best team ever, his second year. We just had injuries and were decimated. When some of those players got back, we destroyed a heavily favored Grambling team in the Bayou Class. But '94 was Pete Richardson's best team, and it didn't even win a championship.
That was like that 2016 team Coach Odom's had. Went through that year, lost, beat everybody. Only lost to Grambling and Kincaid in that SWAC championship. I mean, excuse me, in that Bayou Classic.
Yeah,
and that was a really good team.
Yeah, Jonathan Kincaid. Kincaid kept us from winning 2 SWAC titles. If they don't have an SEC type quarterback at that position, we win both years. We bought pressure. He just was an outstanding 5-star recruit, and that's what cost us. That's what cost us those championships. But can you imagine in 2023 going forward if we could have those kind of teams right now with HBCUs getting the exposure that we get, and we get back to traveling to where everybody know where we coming from, flags flying everywhere. If we could just get, because see, Coach Odom's thing was he knew we had a good program. He couldn't understand why it wasn't being supported more. But the thing about Jaguar fans are we recognize good play, BJ. We recognize that the team that won the championship in 2013, there was a good team and we won, but it wasn't just outstanding, and the conference wasn't that great either.
Mm-hmm.
But we understand and see one thing Pete Richardson brought to us: sound special teams. Kicking was outstanding. Always had good kicker. Always had good special teams. And those were the things that he brought to us. And so as a Jaguar fan, we can look and see what kind of team we got.
Let me do this right quick. Let's go to the phone line. We got another caller. We got all three of y'all. Let's do Johnny. Johnny, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good morning.
All right. Yeah, I just want to chime in on what y'all talking about. And one of the things I didn't, unless I missed it, I didn't hear someone say, and I've been thinking about this since I've seen the latest offers. That tells me coming out of the spring, you're not convinced with what you already have in the room. That because when you think about it, you only have so many scholarships, right? So if I'm going to bring in 2 or 3 more guys, and I already got 4 in the room, that tells me right there I'm not going to continue to invest in quarterbacks if I know I have something I feel confident going into the season with, when I could use those scholarships on maybe, adding depth to another position of need. Just want to see what you guys think about that.
All right. Thank you, Johnny.
He's spot on. If you like what you have, you're comfortable with what you have,
you sure right.
You're not going to bring anything
else. Man, Johnny brought up something now, man. Now I've got to start thinking again. But now he hadn't seen his freshman, so I'm just perplexed. I'm just perplexed with the kid from New York, Bowden. I'm just perplexed because I hadn't seen BJ. How many kids you seen with his accolades and offers coming out of high school coming to our conference?
Ain't been many.
At the quarterback position.
Him.
I mean, the schools that offered him is just mind-blowing to me. I'm talking about schools that for Purdue to offer you, where Purdue is one of the schools that produce all kind of quarterbacks. They offered him. Tennessee offered it. Michigan State offered it. I just don't understand what it is.
That's a good question. We got to get ready to take a break. Chris, hey, man, thank you for calling in. As always, man, it's always a pleasure to hear you. We brought you out today. Good. That's a good thing.
All right. I'll be good.
All right. Thank you. Hey, BJ, let's get ready to take a break. And everybody else that's listening, I hope you're enjoying. Shout out to everybody in the chat on the Jaguar Journal YouTube channel. If you're not following or subscribed, go do that right now as we're on the break. Go to YouTube, type in the Jaguar Journal, and subscribe. You can chat, talk to us right there, or you can call in today, join in the conversation, 225-499-1073. That's 225-499-1073. We're going to get ready to take a break, and we'll be back, all right?
I'm not ashamed no more. I want to do the thing that your love never did before, girl. Baby.
Hey, it's the Jaguar Journal. BJ.
Yeah.
Hey, we was laughing behind it. I said, man, you think I should play that? he said, ain't no cussing in it. I said, but I think we know what he talking about.
Yeah, everybody keeps saying.
I hope everybody had a little laugh off that. I told him, hey, we're going to put it down before he get all the way into it. But, hey, that's that Marvin Cease for you. If you don't know about it, go look it up. That's the candy liquor. All right, Mr. Jody. All right. Let's jump back into a great conversation. I want to thank Chris and Johnny and everybody else for calling in. The chat is going crazy right now on YouTube. They're going back and forth talking about all the things we've been talking about. BJ, only one HBCU player drafted, Isaiah Bolden out of Jackson State in this year's draft. Man, what's your thoughts on that when you look around at the talent in this league, but only one guy being called up?
It's about I predicted two. I know some people were predicting 4 and 5 and 6. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see it. But when you look at the draft, this was a Power 5 draft. 206 picks. 209 picks were either from the Power 5 or Notre Dame. And you only had, I think it was 27 picks from the G5, 12 from FCS.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when people limit it to just the HBCU thing, they're missing the boat in the entire point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they really went Power 5. This is the second wave of those kids who got that extra year eligibility, those COVID kids. So I think you're probably going to see this for another year or two.
Yeah, you look at a
but
guy.
It went Power 5.
You look at a guy like Aubrey Miller, Isaiah Land, Xavier Smith, so many other guys. Even when you look at a guy like Jordan Lewis, who I think when you look at the decline of where he was and where he ultimately finished, just couldn't ever get over that injury bug. I had high hopes for Jordan Lewis, but a guy like Cam Peterson gets a undrafted free agent deal with the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people, so Aubrey Miller, I felt like at one point he was going to get drafted. And then I changed my mind.
What changed?
Aubrey Miller was listed. Well, Aubrey Miller was listed at 6'2". He measured in at 5'11". He ran a 4.89 in the 40. Aubrey Miller struggles in space. When you put him in the space, his missed tackle rate goes up. He didn't play in space well, doesn't play the pass well. Go back and look at that Celebration Bowl. Or anytime he had to play the pass, he didn't do that well. He is a traditional A-gap, this is me, middle linebacker. There ain't a lot of teams in the NFL that's running that scheme. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes we see a guy who think he's a good player. No, you got to think different than that. And then we talk about that 4.89 amongst the linebackers at the combine, that's the slowest time. And it's the slowest time by a lot. I think the slowest time at the combine was like a 4.7, and that was the kid from Nebraska who's 6'5". No, he's 6'6" and 250. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And versatile enough where he can play on the defensive end, can do some other things. So I didn't think that Aubrey Miller would get drafted. I didn't think that Isaiah Land would get drafted because of his size. He's a edge rusher.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but at that size, you're not an edge rusher in the NFL. You're going to be asked to play linebacker, and we have not seen him play in space and do those things. And when you draft people, the sooner you draft them, the more of a sure thing that you're looking at. If I feel like you're going to be a project, I'm either going to draft you late or have you come in as an undrafted free agent. So for those reasonings, I didn't see a lot of guys that really just jumped out to me. Now, one guy that I thought was going to get drafted that didn't was Mark Evans at Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, offensive line.
Offensive line play is bad. Okay? Even at the NFL level, offensive line play is bad. Okay? You heard people talking about a few weeks ago during the spring practice. If you're offensive lineman in the portal, man, you are priceless. But I feel like Mark Evans, for him to play the style that he plays, for him to do the things that he's been able to do, and he's dominated no matter who he played against, I felt like he was the guy that was going to get drafted. I never thought that I thought that as originally for Aubrey Miller, but I never thought that for Isaiah Lane.
And you know what's crazy, BJ? We've seen offensive linemen out of this league get drafted. Alabama State, 2 from Pine Bluff. It's always interesting when we look at that in the trenches, because we question the trenches a lot on the O-line, D-line in this conference, but we get guys drafted and guys do ultimately go play on the next level from this league from out the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't see what Mark Evans. I thought he was a guy. Hey, Zay Smith from Florida A&M.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna make a ball club, man. That kid's special. He's gonna make a ball club. Like, if you ask me who am I confident in making ball club, he's one of the guys that's up there. He can run every route. He can play inside. He can play outside. That kid's special. I think what may have scared people about him was maybe his size.
Let me ask you this, BJ. Now that we start to see this, of course, Deion Sanders, he made a big deal about this at Jackson State, and we've seen people like ourselves make a big deal about it. But now that we've seen this, when players talking about coming, because even FCS as a whole just didn't get drafted. It didn't matter if you was at North Dakota State or no matter where, South Dakota State, Southern, McNeese, it didn't matter. That was a tough day for the draft when you look at FCS players. But most importantly, when you look at guys starting to say, now I want to go play in the SWAC, does this kind of scare guys away from coming here, especially when they're looking at the opportunity to go to the next level? And not only that, what about the guys who do start here with this transfer portal and then they have a good season and they say, you know what? I think I'm better than this. I want to go somewhere else and take my talent, because if I stick around, I may not have that opportunity. Because Isaiah Land was kind of on the forefront of wanting to do that last year, but they talked him back in. But for a lot of guys, does this then begin to pull our best talent out when they feel like after a year or two, I've shown I've done well in conference and the SWAC, now maybe I can go to a group of 5, a power 5, and get better film?
Well, group of 5 kids ain't getting drafted either. Being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And 27 from the group of 5 total. So it ain't like they getting a lot of draft looks either. I think that's going to depend on the kid. You can go somewhere. We've seen the Whittingtons from Alcorn and some of those other guys. You can go somewhere. It don't mean nothing if you don't play.
Was the kid from Alabama A&M, did the JUCO, then ended up at Houston and getting drafted?
Tank Dell.
Yep.
Tank Dell. And he made it happen for himself. You saw, there was some. I thought that Mike Jefferson from UL Lafayette, that came from Alabama State, was gonna get a shot, that he was gonna get drafted, but he didn't. And he put up some great numbers at UL, Lafayette. It's being drafted. I think a lot of people think it's a right. If I do this, then that means I deserve to get drafted. And I ask people, when you say someone deserves to get drafted, what do you mean? No one deserves to get drafted. It all depends on if people want to take that chance on you or not. So, I mean, it's not a sure thing, because there's some guys that play the Power 5 level. When you go look at those lists for undrafted players, it will blow your mind. And we talking about all SEC, all Big Ten, few All-Americans that didn't get drafted. So just going somewhere doesn't. If you're not what they're looking for, it doesn't matter what uniform you line up in.
Let me ask you this, BJ. Last question before we get ready to get out of here. Florida A&M picking up offensive lineman from LSU, a Baton Rouge guy, Southern Lab guy, Cardell Thomas. What's your thoughts on Cardell? He chose FAMU. You see some upside to him over there?
Yeah. I think that for him, I was able to see him in high school. I like the kid, man, athletic, can do some different things. I know that he kind of wanted to get out of Baton Rouge, spread his wings a little bit, and got an opportunity to go to FAMU. Hey, FAMU's loaded. And I'm gonna be honest with you. If FAMU don't get it done this year, and when I say get it done, I'm talking about this season ends in Atlanta, there's going to be a lot of questions, man, because, FAMU's been they've been an 8-win team. I think, 2018 all the way up, they've been an 8-win team and no championship and no Celebration Bowl. Hey, Willis Simmons is getting them to the door. They just ain't kicked it in. And if you don't kick it in this time, people are going to start to wonder, if not now, then when?
I think they get it done, BJ. It's interesting you brought that up. I mean, literally, since they've joined the SWAC, they've only lost to one team. That's been Jackson State in year 1, and Jackson State in year 2 of them being in the SWAC. After that, besides whoever they played in Division I FBS non-conference, they have not lost when you look at October and November. They have been a team that you don't want to see mid-season and late in season. And I think now that Jackson State's out the way, the SWAC is pretty much open for them because they have enough talent to finesse you. They don't have to come in and be world beaters. As you saw last year, a lot of people thought early on in that season, when you saw what happened, man, fam, you just going to be a middle of the pack. They still was the second best team in the conference, no matter who played in the SWAC championship. Fam, you for 2 years, to me, it's been the second best team. And if they get that opportunity, I think now that Jackson State and Deion Sanders is out the way, I think Willie Simmons has the door wide open. When you look at the talent pool, when you look at everything that they bring in, when they replace, they rebuild. And it's instantly, and you see it. And they've been able to have a lot of success against this league. And I think they have what it takes. If there was a team to win a Celebration Bowl out of the conference, for me, I think FAMU has what it takes to do it. I know a lot of people may not believe in them, but I just think just finesse and talent, they're the best finesse team in this conference to me. It ain't the X's and O's. It's just the Jimmies and the Joes for them. It's just the fact that who they have in terms of the depth is just that much better than everybody else. Are we up? We got to get ready to get out of here, Mike? All right, well, we got to get ready to get up out of here. BJ, man, it has been a pleasure having a conversation with you. I want to thank Chris and Johnny and everybody. I want to thank everybody on YouTube that has been going in because they have conversations all up and down the YouTube chatter. If you want, go and subscribe. We need you. Help us out. Subscribe to Jaguar Journal on YouTube and be sure to catch us every Saturday here on 107.3 FM on Talk Radio here in Baton Rouge. BJ, what you got coming up for the people?
Oh, man, hey, X and O's Pod, man, me and Joshua Sims from North Carolina Central and our girl Elka Rochelle from Howard, man, it's coming, man. And like I said, in between now and football season, man, I'm kind of going to be here, there, and everywhere, man.
I like that, man. I'll be doing the same thing. BJ, man, thank you for coming on this morning, man. As always, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, that was my man, BJ Jones. And, of course, I'm Perry White. I thank everybody for coming and checking in on the show this morning. Shout out to everybody on YouTube. Shout out to everybody listening on 107.3. A lot of people, whether you're a Southern fan or not, whether you like HBCUs or you don't, it don't matter. It's just the fact that we have this conversation. I know it's bright and early. I get your day started right 7 to 9 on a Saturday. Hope everybody had a great night last night hanging out. I hope everybody have a great and safe weekend because the weather's look a little stormy today. So y'all be safe, stay in, stay dry. And as always, hey, we'll be back next week at the same time and same place because it's the Jaguar Journal.
Care South is now providing COVID-19 drive-through community testing at their Baton Rouge clinic. Testing is available for anyone with or without symptoms and no doctor's orders.